All right. So, can you all hear me? Is this on? Okay, I have a soft voice, so this makes it better. First of all, I'd like to welcome all of the members that we've asked to come from the Daughters of the American Revolution, and also the guest from General Reyes, our Attorney General's office, and other guests too, which I will meet personally after our meeting and our awards ceremony. And we're very thankful that his beautiful wife can be here. Thank you for coming. We waited for you and we're so happy to see you. All right. I'm Catherine Assay. I am the State Regent of the Utah State Society Daughters of the American Revolution. We have presently almost 600 members in this state, but worldwide we have about 185,000 members. Our threefold mission is historic preservation, which includes genealogy and also taking care of our historical sites here in America. Our second is education, and that entails our children and also our adults of trying to provide good educational materials, food, clothing, toiletry, supply. And our third is patriotism. We do a lot of work with our active military in their deployments and their reintegrations. We attend each and every yellow ribbon that we can with the Utah National Guard. And we also serve our veterans. And a little surprise for you is around December 1st, we're going to be giving a lovely new piano to the Valor House, for the homeless veterans that are able to find a place to live. And so that's going to be our gift. But the most important thing about Daughters of the American Revolution is that we serve, and we love it. And so each one of these ladies that are here with you today, they could tell you what they're doing and it would fill volumes. Anyway, but we are here for a very special award for our Attorney General and a gentleman that has done so much to protect our state, our country, and our world. And we'll learn more about him, but that is why we're here. And I'd like to introduce now Debbie Hoyt, who is our National Defense State Chairman. Debbie.
The Daughters of the American Revolution Distinguished Citizen Medal is presented to an individual that exemplifies honor, service, courage, leadership, justice, humanity, and patriotism, and recognizes worthy citizens for their extraordinary service in the defense, promotion, and preservation of our American heritage of freedom. It is awarded to citizens who have contributed to the defense, security, and freedom in their community, state, or nation in an exceptional manner.
Thank you very much, Mrs. White. We will now hear from Mrs. Schaefer Bullock, who will talk about our wonderful Attorney General, Sean D. Reyes.
Sean Reyes has served as Utah's 21st Attorney General and the state's top law enforcement officer since 2013. He graduated summa cum laude from Brigham Young University and earned his law degree with honors from UC Berkeley. While Attorney General Reyes has led many significant achievements over the past 7 years, we are honoring him for many of those, including keeping Utah and its citizens safe from white-collar crime, violence, drug crimes, and criminal enterprise. Attorney General Reyes has also had the vision to see how technology could be used to protect the citizens of the state of Utah. One particularly commendable action that he took was to implement Safe UT, which helps Utah kids in crisis. Without doubt, his ability to implement technology to combat the criminal element amongst us and to help protect those vulnerable amongst us will be part of his enduring and lasting legacy to the state of Utah. He also is considered a global expert on human trafficking. In 2014, he led statewide investigation and prosecution of Victor Rax, a notorious international gang leader. He had trafficked scores of minors for over 15 years in the state of Utah, until Attorney General Sean Reyes and his office were able to successfully prosecute him. and bring him to justice. While Attorney General Reyes has received many local and international awards, we hope this does not diminish the award that he receives from us today. He has worked closely with the White House and United States Congress to combat trafficking in all of its forms, testifying before Congress and before the governing bodies of many countries on the scourge of modern-day slavery. While it seems impossible that a man who has accomplished so much in such a short period of time can have time for anything else, he actually has a wide variety and an interesting variety of talents and skills and interests. He also has been married to his beautiful wife for 24 years. He has 6 high-achieving children, no surprise there. And he has proven himself to be a man of incredible courage, having taken part in one of the world's largest undercover sting operations that liberated over 125 children in a single day. He has proven to the people of the state of Utah that he is a man of integrity and ability. His service, not only to the state of Utah, but also to the fight internationally against, as I said before, the scourge of human trafficking, has created a legacy that is to be honored and remembered. And we hope that the award that we are offering him here today will be a part of that wonderful and enduring legacy. So, the Wasatch Range Chapter and the Utah State Society, Daughters of the American Revolution, with representatives of the Society of Utah, Children of the American Revolution, invite Mr. Reyes to come forward and receive the DAR Distinguished Citizen Medal. Mr. Reyes. Don't get too close. Okay, and Mr. Reyes, you will be presented your certificate by our state regent, Ms. Catherine Assay, and by one of our distinguished daughters here in the state of Utah, Erica Lovell, will be handing you the medal.
I'll do one quickly without it, so you can one for posterity. Just back up.
This is your award certificate for the DAR Distinguished Citizen Medal.
Can you guys come over for a second?
Sure. Sorry,
Your mom knows me. She grew up with me.
Yeah, we grew up together, right?
That's amazing. Thanks, anyway. Thanks, sweetie. I'm gonna.
And I know your hands are busy, so here's your medal. And I was going to give it to your wife as well.
Put this on.
There you go.
And really quickly, while we were waiting for his lovely wife, I won't touch your things, we were able to hear from Mr. Reyes and how hard his staff works for him. In addition to the certificate and the medal, we do have gift baskets for you, as well as the lovely flowers for domestic violence awareness. We are all in purple, but the baskets, the larger one is for your family to share, but the smaller is for your staff, who, as you said, work so tirelessly to make sure that your office is a success. Thank you.
So much.
All right. That'll miss
Thank you,
you.
Kelly. Thank you, too. Regent outside. Before I begin any remarks, I've got to take a photo from up here because you all look so elegant and regal. And there with purple, you look wonderful. I'm going to take one on this side. There. Royal family there. Thank you. Well, I'm going to take this off. Do we have a protocol that we need to? Do we need to rub it down, or we're good? Okay. First of all, thank you for that incredibly generous introduction, Kelly. It's again, it's a privilege. Our families grew up close by each other, although you were a lot younger and had moved away. I went to school with Kelly's sister, And it's wonderful to see how much she's accomplished in life and in service. Chairman Hoyt, also, thank you for the introduction of the award. When I think about the people that you've chosen in the past to bestow the award upon, I'm in awe that you recognize me in the same category. Those are real heroes if you're talking about frontline first responders, firefighters, law enforcement, emergency medical personnel, military servicemen and women, veterans, and citizens who've accomplished acts of great distinction. And it's a singular privilege to accept this award, and it's even more meaningful to get it from an organization that I admire so much. Chair, or Regent, I should say, State Regent, I say thank you for also your opening remarks and explaining a little bit about the mission of the DAR and the impact. I read somewhere, I don't know if it's quite accurate, but it was some millions of hours of service just in the last few years, cumulatively from the organization, and the impact, especially for those who are underserved, those who need a voice, those who are the most vulnerable in society, as evidenced by the domestic violence awareness and the wearing of purple today. I'd also like to again thank some special people who are here with me. First and foremost, my wife, Seisha, who is the best thing that's ever happened to me in life. People say, what brought you to Utah? Well, it was college and sports originally, but I fell in love with the state, and I fell in love with a young lady from the state while I was at the university down south. And 24 and almost 25 years of marriage. In December, it'll be 25 years of marriage, 6 kids, a few career choices, and a lot of adventures. She's still my angel and the best thing that's ever happened, and reminds me daily of how blessed I am. Also, as I mentioned earlier and was referenced, my staff is incredible. To be able to pool and recruit people from the top levels of the private sector and the public sector and bring them together with a vision to just go out and help and serve and lift people who are suffering, who are in darkness. It's amazing for me and an honor. And so this award, while I am so proud to accept it, truly belongs to my wife, my staff, and many others, silent partners who aren't here today, some of whom were here this morning to meet with the ambassador, who put countless hours in to rescuing those who are in need. It might be physical bondage, like human trafficking, or physical abuse, but it could also be other types of bondage with mental behavioral health challenges. It might be depression and suicide ideation. It might be addictions to drugs and the horrible cycle of abuse and addiction there. And so, again, thank you to Daughters of American Revolution for recognizing me and my team, and thank you for who you are and what you do and what you represent. America, I believe, more than ever needs what you have to offer now, today, with so much divisiveness going on. And it's wonderful to have an organization that focuses on bringing people together. Let me share a few thoughts, because I noticed that your motto was God, home, and country. And I couldn't say it very much better than that. Our family motto was similar: family, faith, and freedom. I think they're almost essentially the same. And when I think about heroes and family and freedom, one particular person immediately comes to mind. He was probably had the most impact of any man in my life, other than God himself, and that's my dad. Sadly, we lost him just a few months ago, but he was kind of a larger-than-life figure. Not physically necessarily, he's kind of a short Filipino, but he had an incredible story, and that story begins in his young adulthood, when he stood up to a tyrant, a dictator in his own country, and challenged him to his own detriment and in great danger, was evacuated to the United States, essentially given a second chance because he wouldn't have lasted very much longer there. He used what little celebrity that he had and acclaim to stand up to a president who would, a short time later, declare martial law, strip the Filipino people of their constitutional rights and privileges, and declare martial law as a strong-arm dictator. My dad arrived in this great country penniless. He had no money. He didn't know anyone. Didn't have a home. But he had freedom. He had faith. And he had the love of his family back in the Philippines. He had some amazing stories that I don't have time to share. Some incredible interventions, truly divine intervention. One from Martin Luther King's wife herself, Coretta Scott King, to help forestall any deportation. He came here legally, but his status was so up in the air that the United States didn't know what to do with him. But in the time that he had, he overcame all of those obstacles to live the American dream. The American dream I teach when I'm teaching civics classes or Boy Scout merit badges. The American dream is no guarantee of success, but it is a guarantee of opportunity. And that's what DAR stands for, giving more opportunity to people of all walks of life. That's what my dad enjoyed here. And that's why, until he passed away, he said that one of the greatest days, actually he said it was the greatest day next to marrying my mother, was raising his hand to take the oath of citizenship for this wonderful country, his adopted homeland that he loved. By the way, I did ask him a few times, that was better than watching your children be born? There's 3 of us. And he said, well, maybe if you put all 3 of you together, perhaps. But he was such a patriot. He loved my mom fiercely, and I know he loved us, but he taught us great lessons growing up. Phrases like freedom is not free, and we have to be vigilant and protect the liberties that we have, or we could lose them. How would he know? Because he lost his in a country that was much like the U.S. At the time that his uncle, a previous president of the Philippines, was in office, the Philippines was almost like a state of the United States. It's just an extension. The economy was so stable, everything was so good. And then within just one generation, everything was lost. And he knew that, and he internalized that, and he taught us since we were small. Sons, serve everywhere that you can. Try to make a difference. Lift other people who are in trouble. It doesn't matter how you serve or where you serve, but try and serve. And until his last days, he served doing a lot of humanitarian work, especially back in the Philippines. And one of his passions was fighting human trafficking. He actually went with some of his old army buddies. They were in their late 70s, early 80s, to infiltrate human organ harvesting, a horrible enterprise in the Philippines. He was so ashamed that it was happening in his home province that he infiltrated. By the way, I chastised him for doing that when I found out. He chastised me back and said, weren't you and somebody else, Tim Ballard, and just running around in Colombia and Haiti and some other countries? And I had to concede that argument to him. But the reason I bring that up is because my dad was attracted to the light that America represented. And he always taught me that America is the greatest country in this world. Not because we're inherently better than anybody else in the world or more deserving, but because we're blessed to have opportunity and freedoms and liberties that are protected by the rule of law, and people who are willing to go out and sacrifice their lives to protect it. In our armed services, every day, the thin blue line that's out, our law enforcement. But there's a narrative today, and I won't ascribe it to a particular group, but it's pretty common. That narrative would tell you that the United States is not as great as it used to be, that it's lost a lot of its luster globally. And, I've heard many people that I've interacted with mention that the stars may not shine as brightly as they used to, and the stripes may not be as bold today as they were. But I'm here to tell you that in my experience, the same great light that attracted my father those many years ago, over 50 years ago, to this wonderful nation, still exists in the hearts and minds of so many people around the world. How would I know? Because from time to time I've had the privilege of going out and rescuing men, women, and children who are in the worst conditions imaginable. Now, I want to be on record and be clear, because from time to time things come up and people say, well, can you do that and still do what you're doing in the state of Utah? Absolutely. So you're not losing out. I still put in 80 to 90 hours a week during the legislative session or at election time, over 100, 110-hour weeks on behalf of the citizens of the state of Utah. But on my weekends and free time, I have a choice. I can work on SACIA's honey-do list, which has only grown exponentially larger over the last 7 years. Or, on occasion, we can go in, infiltrate these horrible cartels, trafficking networks, use the influence and the knowledge that we have, and take them down and make sure that they don't terrorize and torture and hurt little boys and girls ever again. If we can do that, I figure if I can do both and maybe put off for a couple weeks or a couple months the honey-do list, then I'm going to do that whenever I can, wherever I can. I made that commitment. And my team is so supportive of that. Why am I telling you that? Because as I've gone through and had these experiences, and let me maybe share one to bring this point home. In 2017-18, with an organization called Operation Underground Railroad, I had the honor of going down and working with them to take down a huge trafficking network in Port-au-Prince. I say huge, there were about 40 young girls that we were able to liberate. It was a successful operation and our hearts were full. Everyone came back safely. We worked closely with the government. That's how we operate. We work under their strictures, under their constitution, their laws. So we gather the evidence. We're confidential informants. We let them prosecute the case. But in this particular instance, our hearts broke when we found out that shortly after we had helped capture these traffickers, they were let back out on the street by some corrupt judges who took bribes in Haiti. Now, we went back, we were so upset, and met with the president of Haiti at the time, Jovenel Moïse. President Moïse issued a presidential order. To his credit, he was so moved. This, ladies and gentlemen, never happens, or rarely, in countries that have as many challenges as Haiti. And he issued a proclamation and an order that we could go back out and rearrest those traffickers under the president's authority. So we were thrilled, imagining that within a couple of days, weeks at most, the traffickers would be back. Think about for a moment how the victims and survivors that we rescued, how distraught they were when those traffickers were back out in the street trying to hunt them back down. And it was a horrible time for us. Well, to our consternation, not a single law enforcement agency in Haiti would take a presidential order and actually effectuate the arrest of the traffickers. Why is that? Because the cartels there are so strong. They were all afraid of them and they were backing them, and with good reason. They're brutal. And so I could understand that, but it still broke our hearts. Until a very brave individual, he was the Attorney General for that province, he stepped up and said, I'll go effectuate the order. We'll rearrest the traffickers if, Sean and Tim, you'll do one thing for me. We said, sure, what is that? Come with me while we do it. So again, not Seisha's favorite activity for me on the weekend. I negotiated doing extra chores and honey-do list things. Tim and I went down. And we were able to, with their law enforcement team, rearrest the traffickers, not just them, but the 3 corrupt judges that they were able to prosecute. So why am I sharing this particular story? It's really because we brought that Attorney General right here in the Gold Room in Utah, behind, if not this podium, one like this, to recognize and honor him for his courage. He stood up when nobody else would stand up. We had to move his family to a different country to protect them. And I asked him, I said, AG, a lot of people talk about courage. You embody it, you live it. What motivated you to do what you did? And he said 2 things of significance that I'd like to share. One, he said, Sean, first of all, my life is insignificant. It is a small thing. And if I lose my life in this, but I can be a spark to ignite a fire that grows in my nation. And one day that fire can grow strong enough to overshadow the darkness that permeates my country, then it all have been worth it. What a great patriot. He had the spirit of our founding fathers, of your ancestors, the pioneers and the great leaders who created this republic. But the second thing is what I want to emphasize. because going back to my premise that I disagree with people who think that America is not as great as it used to be. AG said, Sean, since I was a child, I wish I had what you had in America. You asked me what inspired me to do what I did. America inspires me to stand up because I want so badly what you have. I'm willing to sacrifice my own life. He said, do you realize the only difference between our nations? We have a constitution just like yours. Maybe not exactly word for word, but we have laws the same as you do on your books. But we don't have people who are willing to sacrifice in blood and their lives to stand up for the rule of law. Your military servicemen and women, your law enforcement teams, your prosecutors, that inspires me. And he said, Sean, do me a favor. When you go back and you speak to people in America, or when you have an opportunity to share an experience like we had together, please, please invite them and remind them how fortunate they are. Invite them to get on their knees and pray to whatever God it is that they believe in, and thank that God that they live in America and have the liberties and freedoms that they enjoy there. That's from the perspective of a high-ranking, influential public official in that country. And over and over again, children, men and women that I've interacted with, that my team has helped me liberate, they love America. They thank God for America. Several little children that we rescued said, we thought that everyone forgot about us. We even stopped praying because we weren't sure God remembered us. But you never forgot about us. And it's an amazing privilege, again, to be able to do that kind of work and feel that kind of fulfillment. Again, in addition to everything else that we do here in the state of Utah. And I wanted to share that because my dad's legacy, that this American dream is worth fighting for, that the same light that attracted him is the same light that you all embody and that we can all emanate, not just here, but across the globe. I'm going to close with this. I know I've taken more time than was allotted. Actually, we're ahead of time, so maybe I'm okay. Are you okay with another story? Since we've your motto for this year is what? Anyone for 2020 to 2022? Anybody remember? Do you know? By chance, Sweet? Maybe. Okay, I thought I saw your hand go up. Anybody else want to help Ava and Sweet out there? I think I saw it. If I read it correctly. Yeah. Is that it? Is it Rise and Shine for America? Because I would love that. That's not the one they gave me, so I am. That was the one they gave me. Legacy of Love. Yeah. Was that for Utah? Okay. So I should have been. I'm a lawyer. I should be more clear in the questions that I ask. So that's my fault. I was thinking about our legacy of love, and one more story from my dad's history came to mind. Again, one that my team's heard. If you've listened to some of the TED Talks that I've done, you might have heard it also. But I made mention that my father's godfather and uncle was president of the Philippines in the 1950s. He was a great leader. His name was Ramon Magsaysay. And in Asia, the equivalent of the Nobel Prize is the Magsaysay Award. It's a very venerated honor. President Magsaysay was beloved in part because he was a man of the people. He'd grown up as a blue-collar mechanic, and when he became president, he opened up Malacanang Palace, which is the Philippine White House, to anybody who wanted to come and talk to him. So early in the morning, from about 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., I don't know how frequently, with this every day or every other day, he was out on the front lawn meeting with people who would line up by the thousands to be able to shake his hand, tell them about the problem that was going on in their province with their water, with their chickens. And President Magsaysay was beloved by most everyone, but there was a strong communist insurgency there in the Philippines. Still is. the Hukbalahaks, and there were on record, I think somewhere between 12 and 17 official assassination attempts on his life. So they kept themselves busy trying to kill the president. One of those well-documented ones played out like this. The Hucks had trained one of their sleeper cell agents, a hardened assassin, to take out the president. Trained for a year or two. His only mission was to eliminate Magsaysay. And so he had a very creative idea. He dressed up one day as a peasant in line with a lot of other peasants, and in a big basket that he had, instead of fruits to share with the president, he had a weapon that he was going to use to kill the president. Fortunately for the president, our family, and the people of the Philippines, it took him a long time in line to get to the front. He had to wait with everybody else. Probably didn't plan that. As he got closer and could hear the president interacting with people, he said later that he had never felt so much love emanating from an individual, much less a public official, to others. He saw the president in his fine barong, which is the Filipino national attire, a very formal shirt and pants. He was on his knees, even in the mud or the grass, crying with little kids who were telling him stories of hunger. He was in tears with elderly women who he called mother, even though clearly they weren't related to him, listening to their stories and trials. And the assassin said that in those moments of listening and watching the president and feeling that love, those moments of interaction, he knew that Magsaysay was the best chance for success for all Filipino people, including his own. And even though ideologically they were so different, he had been sent there to kill him, that he couldn't do it. And so with a lot of courage, instead of shooting the president, when it was his turn to talk to him, he knelt down in front of him, tipped over his basket, showed the weapon, and said, "Please kill me quickly, because if I don't go back having accomplished my mission, they'll torture me, and I just want to end it quickly." Well, the palace guards were more than happy to oblige. They all had their weapons trained on him, were about to shoot the man, and the president said, "Wait, don't shoot him." He said, "I sense a lot of goodness in this man." He said, "He could have killed me, and he didn't, so hold on a second." He said, "Would you be willing to work with me?" And the man said, "Oh, absolutely, I'd be honored." He said, "I got a great idea. Would you work in my personal protection detail? I could use a guy like you." You can imagine his current protection detail was a little worried about that. "Mr. President, maybe not a great idea." And he said, "No, I just sense a light from this." Well, tragically, the president, after that incident, a few years later, died in a plane crash. But this old guy, he protected our family for decades later, into his 90s. They called him Manila Boy. That was his nickname. And he was always loyal to the president and our family. Why? Because of that characteristic of love. And I think love is that attribute that we don't talk a lot about in politics. We don't talk about it a lot in the boardroom, in business. We don't talk a lot about it anywhere else. There's a lot of graphic sexual images that are portrayed all throughout the media, but I'm talking about caring enough for your fellow men to sacrifice, to listen to them, to put yourself in their shoes. And just as this would-be assassin said, that love transcended any differences that they had ideologically, I think our nation is extremely divided today, and I think love is a key and something I'm so glad that the DAR has adopted as its statewide motto, a legacy of love. And there's lots of different ways to look at it, but think about it in those terms. When people who disagree with us and meet us with hatred potentially for what we might think or say or believe, try to respond with love, try to respond with understanding, see if we can use that attribute and characteristic to heal, bring Utahns and Americans in the world a little closer together, because we are, after all, one human family. And so with that thought, again, I would like to, with gratitude, accept this award, and with a lot of excitement, congratulate the Daughters of the American Revolution for their work, encourage you to keep on fighting out there. And if there's any way that I can support you or my staff or my team, please, we're just a phone call away. Many of your initiatives we would love to support. And this is a wonderful nation that we live in. God bless America, and God bless each and every one of you. Thank you.